And welcome to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and info, make sure you go to fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. Ori Benatar back here after missing out on last Wednesday, where these two and this one were running ship for the day.
Easily best show of the year.
Okay, fine.
In my humble opinion.
Well, fine. That's okay. You can have your best show of the year, but that's it, man. I'm back. It's my...
There's no going up from that one.
No going up. Well, we'll try and go up today. I'm with Will Gerard, Jake Hassan, Tommy Polson. No Jade, unfortunately, today. But we got a lot to talk about. A lot have happened. Fox Sports dubbed it the greatest sports weekend ever, and it's going to be up there for sure. But we have to start off with the Illini, of course, since this is Illini Drive, and we are in Champaign-Urbana. 24-10 loss to the Wisconsin Badgers, who are now fourth according to the Associated Press's poll. Tough loss for Illinois. They're now sixth straight loss of the season. You were on the sidelines for the game, Tommy. What's your overall impression of it?
I mean, it wasn't bad. The defense, like you were saying before the show, the defense was good. Bennett Williams continues to be just unbelievable. Like, he had a big pick in that game. The line got some pressure. They did pretty well, honestly. But the offense just looks bad. We need, what's his name? Who's the quarterback?
Karan
next
Taylor.
year? Yeah, we need Karan Taylor, and we need him badly. Because, I mean, Jeff George, he shows his moments. Cam can run the ball real well. But none of them can just consistently complete a pass. And it's tough to win a game when that happens. I mean, that was a winnable game.
9 for 31.
Yep,
between
I was
the
about
two
to say
quarterbacks
that.
is not a great look.
No. And
2 interceptions.
yeah, and the thing that, well, the 2 interceptions were from Cam Thomas.
Both of those
be
were
fair.
pretty bad interceptions.
They were very bad throws. I mean, any throw in...
How is Jeff George's QBR lower than Cam Thomas's, though? Oh, because Cam's rushing, probably.
Yeah, Thomas had 89 rushing yards on 10 carries.
Put Cam as like an H-back.
Yeah, that's what I was
Let's
saying.
play receiver.
The dream Illini offense is you have George Jr. under center, Cam Thomas at halfback, and then you got Chase Crouch playing tight end, but Chase Crouch didn't get any sort of time on the line.
Sad.
But the thing that I just don't get, the 2-quarterback system can work. It's just that, for example, Cam Thomas was running the ball really well, and then they take him out for Jeff George Jr. in the red zone, and then Illinois settles for a field goal. Or Cam Thomas is playing really well, put Jeff George Jr. and he fumbles. Or sometimes Jeff George Jr. is in completing passes, you put Cam Thomas in and he throws an interception. So I just felt that Garrick McGee was making those changes at like the wrong time when George Jr. or Cam Thomas had some momentum going. Sure, they didn't have good games, but they had moments where they looked okay. They had splashes, sparks of brilliance, which is what this season is really all about in terms
of brilliance.
Sparks. Cam Thomas is
There were
fast.
some good plays.
Cam Thomas
Cam had
is
that
really
one,
fast and strong.
Cam had that one pass that was, I think, maybe like 30, 40 yards downfield to probably 30.
It was a 29-yard
29
pass. That was the first
okay.
completion of the
I
game.
mean, that was like a beautiful ball, and I remember talking to, who was I with? Eli and a couple other guys on the sideline, and I was just saying, like, okay, like, that was a great throw. Like, that's not an easy pass, especially for a guy like him who's thrown a pick, who's looked pretty inconsistent. I mean, he obviously has the tools, but it's just a matter of, I think Cam could get a lot better if you give him more time in this offense, but it's just a matter of getting that those experience and that reps.
Yeah, he needs more reps. I mean, it's tough to see a stat line for your first 2 career games where you have 4 completions and 3 interceptions. But to be fair, he's rushed for over 70 yards in his first 2 games, and I think Cam Thomas is a serious threat running the ball. And honestly, he could be the starter for the beginning of next season. I don't think Karan Taylor is a guaranteed starter once he comes into the program. I think Cam Thomas, even Jeff George Jr., might be competing for the spot. But the Illini offense is just clearly not up to snub. I mean, Mike Dudek had a couple of nice catches on the drive. He had all 3 of his receptions on one drive, and then he got injured. Ricky Smalling, a catch for 26 yards. He didn't have much of an effect. Nice to see Kendrick Foster get a touchdown after we hadn't seen him play for a while. No Ray Von Bonner, so that meant Kendrick Foster was the starter. Reggie Corbin got 4 carries on the game. But, I mean, you have to say the Illini defense, after some tough performances against the likes of South Florida and Iowa, they've really, really stepped up. I mean, after the Rutgers game, really, that was kind of the last 2 weeks, the Illinois defense has been pretty good. I mean, against Minnesota, they gave up almost 300 rushing yards, but against Wisconsin to only give up 188 rushing yards against the 5th best team in the country at the time, that is an achievement.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is currently, I think they said top 5 in Heisman voting.
Well, he got injured during the game.
Right, but he still played. Yeah, that's fair, guys. Groshek played most of the second half. But,
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, when he was in the game, they did contain him.
No, definitely. I think I mean, Taylor had his nice runs here and there, but Illinois, again, stopped the passing game to a certain extent. But to be fair, Wisconsin and most of the Big Ten teams are using the game plan now. You know, Wisconsin at one point had called 13 consecutive rushing plays, which was the drive where the Illini had the illegal sub penalty on 4th and 4, where Wisconsin would be punting from their own end zone. So if you subtract those huge mistakes, whether it's the 4th and 4 illegal sub penalty followed by an offside, the Jeff George Jr. fumble while you're driving, the Cam Thomas 2 interceptions, you take out those big mistakes, and Illinois are actually very competitive in this game. And they lost by 2 touchdowns against Wisconsin. They lost by a touchdown to Minnesota. And if the offense produces more, then I think we would be sitting here and saying the Illini maybe had a win or two, but 6 straight losses isn't going to cut it. But now you have probably maybe the last chance Illinois will have all season to get a victory next week against Purdue. They come in as 13.5-point underdogs, according to the odds. But man, Illinois, if the defense keeps it up and the offense improves, they maybe could beat Purdue. Maybe.
I think if the defense plays like they did this week, we'll win. But that's a big if. That's contingent on not turning the ball over almost 4 times. There was 2 fumbles by George. Luckily, we recovered the one. But, I mean, yeah, it's just a matter of eliminating those turnovers and stop making, like, dumb mistakes, you know, because we have talent. We can match up with, especially at Purdue.
Yeah.
I mean, we hung in there with Wisconsin. Could have beat Minnesota. Iowa 45-16 doesn't really say the score of that game.
3 touchdowns in the
Rutgers
fourth.
was doable outside of a couple dumb mistakes. I mean, you look at a lot of these games. I mean, that's 4 right there that were more or less winnable games. And, I mean, 4 more wins, they're 6-2. And we're talking – obviously, that's very hypothetical and that's a little bit of a stretch. But I mean, it's not like they haven't showed their, like, moments where this is a pretty decent team. There's definitely talent there.
Tons.
So – I don't know. At Purdue, it's tough. On the road, it's definitely not ideal. They're coming off a loss against Rutgers. No.
They lost to Rutgers 2 weeks ago. I think Purdue lost to Nebraska.
It was Nebraska. They lost by 1.
Yep.
But, so, yeah, they're coming off 2 straight losses. They're going to come in hot. They don't want to lose to us. So, I don't know. I think they'll be in it, but I think Purdue at the end takes this one.
Yeah, and I mean, for Illinois to win games at this point, you want the defense to play well, and the defense has been playing well, but you can't depend on it seems like Illinois has to depend on the defense to actually get those touchdowns.
Yeah.
And Illinois' defense doesn't score off of turnovers, and whenever Illinois' offense comes on the field after Illinois' defense forced a turnover, it just seems to fall flat on its face and, you know, give it the ball right back to its opponent.
I mean, it's crazy and almost an easy comparison, but it almost makes me think of the Super Bowl team that the Bears had when Lovie was there, when that defense was just so unbelievable. But, I mean, Rex Grossman was terrible that year. He was not a good quarterback. He was very turnover-prone. Thomas Jones was good on offense. They had some good pieces, but the defense is what took them to that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And obviously Lovie's leaning on them again.
I mean, do you think in 3 or 4 years, Jake, that it could be Illinois' defense that takes them to a Big Ten championship game? Because with these guys playing, Delshon Phillips, Stanley Green, Bennett Williams, who are all freshmen, things are looking high for this Illinois defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to believe they can't, because it's like Tommy said, Lovey's leaning on these guys already as freshmen. So, I mean, he's counting on them to grow over the next few years, and hopefully by that time there's a quarterback in place and there's more receivers in place, and those supporting pieces are there to carry the team together.
I mean, you also get a guy back like Epstein who went out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some injuries.
The injuries haven't helped. Tony Adams being out too, that hasn't helped the passing game, but it's not like teams are trying to pass the ball against Illinois' defense. I mean, we saw Horningbrook. I don't think he didn't play well at all against Illinois. And we'll talk a little bit more about the rankings and stuff, but the general consensus among all of us, we were talking after the game, is that we don't understand why the Associated Press put Wisconsin at number 4 in the rankings. Because I thought after a performance like that against Illinois, who is the worst team in the Big Ten, the Badgers should not have gone up. Even though they're undefeated, I don't think the Badgers earned their place in the top 4. But we'll see what the College Football Committee says tomorrow for the playoff.
I mean, I think people just aren't sold on Notre Dame yet, and them being at 5, I think it shows that the committee wants to put them at 4 ahead of Wisconsin, but it's just a matter of record. And I mean, Notre Dame's been playing really well. Arguably, they deserve it, as we've discussed in this room many times. But I mean, Notre Dame's going to be there next week. I mean, they're just delaying it by 7 days.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but at the same time, coming off a win, like a 14-point win over Illinois versus Notre Dame coming off only their 1-point loss to Georgia, who is currently a top 4 team,
And rolling over their opponents.
USC and NC State, who were 11 and 14 at the time, back-to-back weeks, winning by a combined score of 55.
They lost that Georgia game by 1 point, too. And
Right,
Georgia
that's
was
what I'm saying.
15. It's not like they were a
Yeah, and
slouch at
Georgia's
that
beating
either.
SEC teams by 40. I mean, they
Right.
beat Florida 42-7 and forced their coach to get fired.
Notre Dame already has 3 wins against teams that are currently ranked right now, and that's tied for the most of any of the top 5 teams.
Yeah.
Clemson has only beaten 1. Clemson also had 3. Ohio State had the 1 against Penn State this week, and then who's the other one? Georgia?
Yeah.
Georgia was against Notre Dame, and I think they had one other one too. But, I mean, it's not like these top 4 teams have really played a strong schedule that could even match up with Notre Dame's at this point.
Yeah. We'll elaborate more on who we think should be in the top 4 for tomorrow and also the Heisman race because we're pretty much about halfway through the season. But before we take a break, quick little discussion. So before Lovie Smith's weekly Monday presser where he always talks about the football, obviously, Josh Whitman had his presser today discussing the plans for a fundraiser. So the DIA announced today that there's a $300 million fundraising goal, and the main goal for fundraising that money is going to be building a brand new weight room, a brand new football facility. And guys, some of the pictures and the renderings that they made look pretty amazing. How do you think that is going to help draw? Do you think it draws big time recruits to this program? And this isn't going to get built until by the latest, earliest 2020, 2021.
It never hurts. I mean, like, obviously when you're trying to, like, wow a recruit, you like the glitz and glamour. Like, you want them to be drawn to something at first. I mean, initial reactions. People always say first impressions go a long way. So you want to show them something. You want to show them that you have this facility that pushes them forward towards their goals.
Yeah, I mean, based on the renderings, they're kind of going to do what looks like kind of like a Bama-esque facility. And obviously, you have to get some wins along the way, too, and kind of show that this is a program in the future. But people love to see, like, the cool locker rooms, things like that. I mean, especially me, like, just as a fan. Like, that gets me excited. I feel like that'll get the kids excited more. People will come in and see that, and they'll be like, okay, this school's invested in their program. They're building new stuff. This stuff looks great.
It shows they care.
Right, exactly. And I think that if nothing else, like you said, it shows they care. And I think that could go a long way with recruits.
Yeah, that glitz and glamour, those extra gadgets is always something you want to see. You would say that sometimes it's not worthwhile. There's professional teams and all over the country or high school teams that have these really bad locker rooms. It's just all you need is a bench and your locker, and that's it. You don't need a TV in there.
Illinois football's about to have a better facility than the Oakland Raiders currently have.
Yeah. Well, but they're only there for 2 more years, so they're going to get a nice facility whenever they go to Vegas, I'm sure, because it seems that Las Vegas is a good sports market.
Las Vegas.
Yeah. Golden Knights.
Playing really well.
Very
8-1.
unbelievable.
8-1.
Yeah, my parents were just there this weekend for their 30th
Really?
anniversary, and they loved it.
They go to a game?
No, they didn't go to a game. So my mom's not a big hockey person, but
Gotcha.
my parents had a fun time there. So happy anniversary to Gil and
anniversary.
Shirley Benatar.
Yeah, I mean, they beat the Hawks 4-2.
Yeah, and they're playing the Isles tonight in Brooklyn to try and win win 9 of their first 10 franchise games, which is crazy. But we're going to we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will discuss more about the Heisman race and the college football, who we think should be in the top 4 for the playoffs. First poll tomorrow. We return to Illini Drive right here on WPGU 107.1.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 107.1.
Back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. Quick update on some other Illini sporting action. The men's golf team is competing in the very competitive East Lake Cup, which is it's the 3rd year of the East Lake Cup. The best teams in the NCAA compete, and Illinois is in the semifinals. They're going to play tomorrow against Oklahoma, who they lost to in last year's NCAA championships. The other semifinal matchup is also the exact same NCAA semi matchup, Vanderbilt against Oregon. Oklahoma is the defending men's golf national champions, as the Illini will be ending their fall calendar season. But we're going to shift the conversation back to football. So tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so right when Illini Drive starts tomorrow, I guarantee that Luke and his guys will be announcing the first college football playoff rankings tomorrow. We did that last year on the Tuesday-Thursday show. That's an advantage of being on Tuesday. You get to always, announce live those polls. So this is going to be the first poll. And historically, the College Football Playoff Committee has always had their differences with the Associated Press rankings. So the new Associated Press rankings came out. The top 10 is the same, just jumbled. Obviously, the major jumps, Georgia's number 2, OSU back to 3, Wisconsin's at 4, Notre Dame at 5, Penn State drops to 7, Miami dropped to 9, and then the biggest jump into the top 25, Iowa State went from 25 to 14 after their big victory against TCU. So we're going to discuss here who we think should be in the top 4 and why. And I think all of us here, the biggest thing is who gets that 4th spot. Because to be fair, do we all agree Bama, Georgia, OSU the top 3? Or would we say you think Notre Dame probably 3rd?
I think you could argue either way. I think that those are the top 4 there no matter what. I think Wisconsin's 5. There should be the one sitting on the outside, I think. But I think there could be a case made for Notre Dame and Ohio State being switched. But at this point, I think it's fair to have them where they are. In terms of if you switch Notre Dame and Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'd say switch Notre Dame and Wisconsin. Have the Fighting Irish at 4 because the way they're beating these ranked teams is incredible. Wisconsin's playing in a really, to be fair, the Big Ten West is terrible. There's really not as much competition. And
they should be 8-0.
Yeah.
Like it's what's expected of them.
Yeah, Wisconsin should win that division. They probably will go undefeated because their only tough game for the rest of the season is against Michigan, and Michigan's out of the top 25 now. After they beat Rutgers, but it wasn't as convincing as you would think. Jake, Notre Dame, top 4. I mean, what's the case for Wisconsin?
I mean, the case for Wisconsin is just that they're still undefeated, that they've just consistency. I mean, that's really it. I mean, Notre Dame had the one loss, which we've discussed was by 1 point to Georgia, which is at 2 now. So I think it should be Bama, Georgia, OSU, Notre Dame, with Wisconsin and Clemson being the first 2 out. But, I mean, this time next week it's going to be rectified. I mean, it's going to be Notre Dame at 3 or 4. So
I don't know if they'll change. I mean, hopefully, I'm interested to see where they go tomorrow.
This is just like a feeler to just because it's more of like we want to put Notre Dame there, but we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks.
I'm interested to see where they announce it tomorrow because I have a decent feeling that they might be top 4. My only thing is I don't think next week would change any different though because Notre Dame has Wake Forest, they're pretty good this year. Honestly,
they're gonna win that game.
They're not ranked though. I mean, Wake Forest is 5-3. They've got they've played a decent schedule.
Wisconsin's got Indiana. So
after that, it's Miami, Navy, Stanford finish. If they're not top 3, I think if they win out after that, I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the only way I feel Notre Dame is completely out of the playoff picture is if they lose to any one of those teams, obviously.
Right.
But that Miami game, if they lose to Miami, then the Canes now have a really legitimate chance to make the playoff.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, I mean, is it possible to see 2 teams from the same conference make the playoff this year? Because Bama are going to play Georgia in the SEC title game, it seems. Even if someone loses that game, do they make the playoff?
I think so. I think the SEC, those 2 atop the SEC are too good this year. Mm-hmm. They've both been dominating teams. Georgia looks great. Sonny Michael's awesome. Nick Chubb's still very good. Mm-hmm. Fromm's been unbelievable. And Bama's Bama. I mean, you're not going to kick them out. So
yeah, but Bama's not playing anybody. They haven't played anyone decent this
season.
season.
Once they do, I think that they're just going to continue.
That's the argument we have every year, that Bama doesn't play anyone really, but they're still just so dominant that it works out.
Yeah, I mean, Bama just gets such a boost by starting number 1 every year, and I think you take that into account and they don't necessarily start that high every year, it might be a different story. But considering where they started, FSU looked to be a great win to start the year.
The rest of their schedule is not good.
Tennessee started out pretty good.
No,
A&M's
Tennessee's
had
terrible.
Their moments.
LSU,
Mississippi State, Auburn as 3 of their last 4. It's a tough finish.
Auburn, okay. LSU and Auburn, fine. Mississippi State, they'll beat. Again, why are they playing
at
Mercer?
Mississippi State and at Auburn for the Iron Bowl?
Yeah.
I think
not easy.
Not easy, but
there's a chance they lose.
But Auburn and LSU have been so inconsistent. Sure, they actually all are ranked.
One of those 2 games is Alabama's going to be played tight, or both. It could even be both, but one for sure.
Yeah, they always have one tight game in the regular season. But this is reminding me a lot of last year, the fact that Bama was number 1 the entire season. No one talked about Bama because we just assumed they were going to win the national championship. And then Clemson beat them. Who's that one team that if Bama plays in the national championship is going to beat them? I think it could be Ohio State.
I think Ohio State could. I think Notre Dame could, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd feel great about that rematch.
I just
I think Georgia could beat them if they both make it. I don't know.
I just think I think last year we saw the Deshaun Watson effect. I think this year we're starting to see the JT Barrett effect. It's his last year with the Buckeyes. He's playing really, really well. He's only thrown an interception.
His last year of his 30-year career.
Yeah, I know,
at Ohio State.
30-year
He's
career.
been there for
Him and Perry Ellis.
It feels like
came
he's
in the
been
league together.
feels like he's been there forever. But yeah, JT Barrett was handed off to Maurice Clarett back in the day. I remember that. But no, JT Barrett's playing really well. I think we could see a very similar storyline with that. And also last year, the first team that was number 4 in the playoff rankings was Texas A&M. They lost the next week. So maybe Notre Dame, maybe you don't want the Fighting Irish in that 4th spot because they could just lose to Wake Forest. Also, we have to point out Central Florida because they're this year's Western Michigan. They're undefeated. They're 15th in the country. Probably not going to make the playoff.
They're not going to make the playoff.
But, I mean,
I don't think they have
big
any
bowl
shot at
game.
the playoff.
Big bowl game.
They'll
though.
play in a good bowl game, but I don't think they really have any shot at the playoff.
No. And again, there's not going to be a Big 12 team. No way.
No.
I just don't see. I mean, we all thought
Oklahoma State's been too shaky. Oklahoma, they've been good lately.
too shaky. TCU just lost.
Too shaky. TCU, I never really.
We knew TCU
looked-
was going to fall off.
We were
I mean, it's
saying
Iowa
last week that they they're good, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Iowa
They're not
State.
real.
Iowa State's the
Iowa
Big 12
State.
team. I mean, they've had a tremendous season, beating
If Iowa
Oklahoma
State
and beating
makes a
TCU.
playoff, I don't even know what
It's
I'm gonna
to
do.
be a psych.
It'd make up for years of disappointing basketball where they're always top 3 ranked and then just get bounced in the first.
I'm
or
not
second
even going to
round.
let
but
myself think of Iowa State.
Right now,
making the
being an
playoff.
Iowa State fan, you're living the life these past 3 weeks. You know, you beat Oklahoma, you beat TCU, and
Bedlam's
you get
this weekend too.
yeah, and you get George Condit, and you get Taylor Horton Tucker for your basketball
and you
team.
get Zion Griffin and
Yeah.
every other player out of Chicago.
Bitter.
Yeah, remember
Whatever.
Will.
Very bitter.
Remember Will when Jay Lehman said Oklahoma decides who wins the national championship? I don't know about that. That's this weekend.
That'll still be a good game.
Remember just a week ago when we were so confident that THT was going to come to Illinois and then just flipped on a
that's a
coin?
whole thing we could talk for the whole show about if we want to get into that.
Yeah,
Just
well,
another
you wanna talk
classic
about-
case of
yeah.
Illinois basketball recruiting.
Yeah, well,
right
let's
there.
talk about how we got our hearts broken. Sure.
Yeah,
just-
totally.
I'm so
Sorry, I don't
sad
mean to be a
about
downer.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
That is so
I feel
sad.
so bad for him.
It's a real weird situation.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know if you two got into it too much or not, but
No, and tell the viewers out there. I mean, your
mean-
knowledge of the situation.
obviously this is kind of getting away from what we were just
Yeah.
saying. But,
That's okay.
basically, the situation from what I kind of read into, what I covered, what I kind of got from all this together. Taylor Horton Tucker wanted to come to Illinois. He was set to come to Illinois. Looked like it was good. It was a done deal. And apparently, so there's some beef going back with IO before with the Mac Irvin Fire, which is the big AAU program a lot of Chicago kids play for. They played for together. And obviously, so Taylor left, thought, hey, look, I'm going to go somewhere else, get a better shot for myself. And eventually, Nick Irvin, apparently, what's the rumor is there's no confirmed names, any names dropped, so I don't want to say that and say that this was a definite thing. But it looked like Nick Irvin kind of said to Brad Underwood, look, you're either getting Io and my guys, or you can take Talon, and we'll see what happens. And unfortunately, it kind of looked like it swung Io's way. There's no, again, this is all kind of a bit of speculation. There's
Yeah,
some
it's not
confirmed stuff on this.
Allegedly.
Right.
Not completely confirmed.
Without getting too much into the details, basically Talon, the option to go to Illinois was more or less taken off the table for him. And this is what he wanted to do, which sucks because I personally met him. He's a really nice kid, great guy, and hope he has a great career at Iowa State. So
Yeah, Iowa State's going to be really good next
they're
year.
going to be a really cool team.
yeah.
They have a lot of good young freshmen coming in.
They're going to be fun to watch for the 2018-19 season. But Illinois is going to be fun to watch, too. We're getting there. Probably next week we're going to do a nice little men's basketball, women's basketball preview as those seasons are going to get started next weekend. Again, November
We actually have a
10th.
game coming up Friday. The special exhibition
Yes,
game
the
against Eastern
exhibition
Illinois.
game. That's right. Illini basketball is going to have a nice little
Over at Eastern.
exhibition game. Also, wrestling's going to start this weekend, too. So Isaiah
Wrestling should be
Martinez starting his road to his 3rd national championship and 4th Big Ten title as the Illini wrestling team are going to try and improve on last year. But let's go back quickly to football before we take a break. Heisman race. Talking a little bit about it before. I mean, I'm a homeboy. I think JT Barrett should be considered the second favorite. What? I don't know.
I think that's high.
Because after
second
after
is
Saquon,
high.
but that's the thing. After Saquon's terrible game, I mean, it's between JT and Josh Adams. Josh Adams, the Notre Dame running back, had 200 yards rushing against NC State last week. He's been
You know what it is?
animal.
You know what it is? It's because he's a quarterback, and he's the best quarterback out of a class that hasn't really done
The
anything.
thing is, like, people are still talking about Baker, too.
No.
Baker's been good, but
No
like,
way.
the running backs have been so much better, though.
Yeah,
this
the
year.
running backs are unbelievable this year. Bryce Love should be in it.
I think it should be a running back, but
They always have to throw a quarterback in there.
yeah,
That's
because
why.
that's just how it is. The best player in any football year for professional or college is always going to be a quarterback. Because guess what? Quarterback is the most important position on the field. That's why I think there should be a best quarterback award, and then you should have a non-quarterback MVP.
So will a quarterback win again this year?
If JT,
I don't think so.
If JT keeps up what he's doing
really
and
rattled.
Ohio State win the Big Ten championship, I think JT will take it. Unless Josh Adams has a really signature Heisman game, really big
The thing is,
national.
I think it's so
Heisman
hard
game.
for you to say that he hasn't because he went 19 carries for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I
For
guess-
His
USC.
average per carry is unbelievable.
It's 10 yards a
Yeah.
carry, and he's played 4 ranked teams already.
No, I know. I understand. I mean, I think Josh Adams should be seriously considered. I mean, he's got 1,169 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 8 yards a carry.
and he's sat out 9 quarters so far.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
But JT
this
Barrett
kid's an animal.
was perfect. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of the
Barrett should be top 3.
of the biggest game of the year and the best game of the year in college football so far. The Penn State game is the biggest, unless somehow the OSU-Michigan game is bigger. But obviously, that's probably off the table because Michigan's season is over because they've lost 2 games. But that Ohio State-Penn State game, that's the signature. He missed 6 passes. He was 33 of 39. He has almost a 70% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns to 1 interception. That is amazing. And other running backs, I mean, Josh Adams he's playing well, but he's not on sort of his own planet when it comes to running backs. Because Saquon Barkley's having a good season. Love's having a good season for Stanford.
I would argue that Saquon and Josh Adams are on the same plane because
I
just
think so, too.
just based on what Josh Adams has done in a more limited role. I mean,
Yeah.
like Tommy said, he sat out 9 quarters,
And he's not a
and
receiving
it's not like
threat.
he's been on the field, off the field. Like he was injured and then he came back and then is running over everybody now.
Not even injured. They've just sat it because
Yeah.
Notre Dame's been up so much.
So I mean, it's like I don't know.
We don't know. I mean, the Heisman race is. I mean, we know Lamar Jackson's not winning his second Heisman. That's
No.
fair. I think it's going to come down between Barrett and Josh Adams, unless Ohio State or Notre Dame lose a game. If they do, Saquon's back in the hunt. Maybe the Love from Stanford will be back in the hunt too. But as of right now, I think it's clear as day. It's between Barrett and Josh Adams for the Heisman. And the last Ohio State.
You're going to eliminate Saquon?
I kind of feel like Penn State just crumbles now. I
Yes.
feel like they don't. I feel like they don't take this loss.
I'm
very
going to
well.
eliminate Saquon. The only way Saquon is really back in the mix, I think he will get invited to New York regardless, but he's only back in the mix unless Ohio State loses, and I just don't see that happening for the rest of the season because the
Fair.
Buckeyes have a pretty smooth sailing schedule. They got to play the Illini and Michigan to end the season, and they're going to win both those games.
I could see Michigan showing up to that game.
Well, of course they're going to show up. Ohio State, Michigan is always competitive. It's
Jim
never a
Harbaugh's
rout.
definitely going to do some crazy stuff for that.
That
Like,
man's going to drink a lot of milk.
he's
that
going to
week.
do something really nuts just to get the team fired up.
Yeah, probably. I would assume so. We're going to take a quick break again here on Illini Drive, but when we come back, how about last night's baseball game? Is it the greatest World Series game ever? Is it the greatest championship game ever in North American sports history? Also, a score update. We'll talk about that when we return to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 107.1.
And welcome back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and info, make sure to visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. So,
We had a baseball game last night, folks.
There
Let
wa-
me tell you.
okay, well, before the baseball game, let me just give a quick score update just to
No.
let everyone
Now.
else know what's happening in the sporting realm. The Chicago Bulls are going to be playing the Miami Heat on Wednesday in Miami at 6:30. The Bulls are now 1-4. In hockey, the Columbus Blue Jackets are playing right now. They're leading the Bruins 2-0. It looks like the Blackhawks are not playing tomorrow either, so likely going to be playing Wednesday. Chicago didn't play last night either. The Penguins lost to the Jets 7-1. We got Monday Night Football tonight. The Chiefs hosting the Broncos. The Bears lost to the Saints yesterday afternoon. Zach Miller, of course, having the serious injury. Seems he's going to be okay, though, considering what was happening. And also, MLS playoffs are happening right now. Toronto just scored against the Red Bulls early on in the first leg. But now let's talk about the baseball game. There was a baseball game last night, and it was amazing. The Astros beat the Dodgers in Game 5 of the World Series 13-12 in 10 innings. Home run after home run after home run after home run. 22 home runs in this series. 5 home runs from the Astros from 5 different players. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Dodgers are up 4-0. Then the Astros tied it with a 3-run homer. Then the Dodgers took back the lead with a 3-run homer. Then the Astros tied it with a 3-run homer. Then the Astros took the lead. They're up 12-9 to 9. Then the Dodgers tied it. Then the Astros
Best
won.
moment of that game was George Springer really unnecessarily diving for a bloop single. Goes for a triple for the Dodgers to take a lead. Leads off the next inning and just smokes one.
Juiced baseballs are the best
the
thing
best thing
baseballs,
ever.
The juice baseballs are definitely
So
helping
good.
this series
And
out.
if one person complains about how long that game was,
No, you're an idiot.
meet me. Like, I will give you my address. Like, that is unbelievable if you complain about that game because
mean,
it was so good.
absolutely
and it was
insane.
all the key players from each team. You had Bellinger for the Dodgers show up. You had Altuve for the Astros show up. It was just
Justin Turner did not play as good.
Thank God, I hate that man.
Correa played
I
really
literally
well.
tweeted yesterday.
played really
I think I tweeted in the ninth at some
If Justin
point.
Turner
I
hits
said
a
I
home
can't
run.
wait for Justin Turner to hit a home run, and I'm just gonna be so mad. And thank God it didn't happen because I would have thrown my laptop at my TV, and it would have been bad.
That
But
would
it
have been
didn't happen.
bad. I mean, Dallas Keuchel.
I hate that man.
Dallas
so much.
Keuchel and Clayton Kershaw started this game, and it ended up 13-12. I mean, 25 runs total. It's not the first time that both teams in a World
RIP to
Series
anybody
game.
who bet the under on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, but
two star pitchers, and neither of them made it out of the 5th inning.
nope. I
Like,
mean,
it's just so good.
so
I guarantee you
That was
tomorrow's
just peak baseball.
tomorrow's game is gonna be 1-0.
Yeah,
Verlander's
easily.
oh,
throwing-
Verlander's gonna
Verlander's
throw
coming out
gas.
hot.
Yeah,
Yeah, Verlander's gonna be amped. He's
it's
like,
gonna be an Altuve home run. Verlander's throwing 9 innings.
Do not fool yourself though. The Dodgers are winning Game 6. This is going 7.
No,
if you think this
it's
isn't
not.
going 7,
It's not.
Tommy, you're delirious.
It's not. It's not.
LA's not losing
not.
Game 6.
Dude,
They're
it's
not.
not.
They're not losing their first game.
yeah,
ever.
but this
stop
is-
saying that.
no,
It's not.
Justin Verlander. This
Justin
is
Verlander
his
is
moment
not
to win
gonna
his
get
Like you
World
said,
Series.
it's going to be 1-0, and Verlander's going to go 7 strong.
Verlander's gonna
Verlander's
shut
gonna,
this team
Verlander's
out.
going to go 7. They're not going to score a run, and someone from Houston's shaky bullpen is going to give up a solo homer, and then it's going to be 1-0, and it's going to go 7, and I'm going to scream.
Houston's bullpen's not going to be in this game. Verlander's throwing 12
no
innings
one's
if he has
bullpen's
to.
in this game. Rich Hill and Justin Verlander might have to throw
Don't
9.
tell me Rich Hill. Rich Hill.
Hey, Francisco Liriano didn't throw
trash.
last night. He's
Oh
available.
man, you got to get Francisco Liriano. I saw Francisco Liriano there. I'm like, please make
I
Liriano
thought-
He warmed
pitch.
up so many
I
times.
thought Francisco Liriano was coming into that game in a key situation, and I would have died of laughter.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to go more than 10 innings after the
Yeah.
craziness
I thought we were
that
getting 20.
saw. I didn't think 20.
I wanted
I thought
20.
like 13.
I did,
or,
but I didn't. But I did.
yeah, it wasn't the longest extra inning game in the postseason because we had that Yankee Indians game too. That was a 13-inning game, and no one thought that was going to go 13. No one even thought that series was going to be close, but it's been a great playoffs in general.
So good.
Some perspective on that game. 25 runs. That's more than how many goals were scored in the English Premier League this week. Out of the 10 games, they were
soccer
23.
stinks.
Hey, but 23.
Hey,
Everyone's like,
Oh, I
every
forgot Tommy's a
You're
soccer
outnumbered
guy
in
now.
soccer.
no, hey,
guys
but
now.
hey, every soccer game's 1-0. 23 goals in 10 games compared to 25 runs. That's pretty close. A lot of people would say, 10 games would be 10 goals or 0 goals. But also, 16 out of 22. Actually, 16 out of 22 NFL teams yesterday scored less than or exactly 25 points.
Yeah, that's funny.
Wait. So, question: You think that it's for sure going Game 7?
Yes.
Who do you have winning then? The whole series.
Oh, I still think Houston wins the whole thing.
I see.
So you think if the Dodgers win 6, then they'll win 7 too?
They're winning 7 because
Yeah.
I don't think that without having Keuchel or Verlander start, they're going to win.
I think the Dodgers could
Keuchel would
take
be
it.
available out of the bullpen. Though.
Also, after losing a
Not
game
a bullpen,
like
Bill.
that,
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Ooh.
The thing is, I just want 7. But the series has been so
You're
good.
right. I definitely agree that LA probably has the advantage tomorrow because coming off of a day of rest, their bullpen's going to be fresh. They're going to be able to throw 5 innings. if they
Puig
need
was
it.
hitting off a tee in Dodger Stadium this morning.
Yeah, why
It was
didn't
awesome.
Puig's
By himself, just
Yeah.
all alone.
The real
Puig also hit a one-handed home run.
That
Like
was so cool.
410
yeah,
feet yesterday.
Puig has played pretty well this postseason. Does this World Series top last year's? The fact
Yes.
that it's in the conversation now. Okay, here's where I'm seeing this. You guys had emotional investment in that
Yeah,
series,
that's what
and
I'm
I
saying.
kind of did too. That's why for me, I felt Game 7 last year was better because of all the emotions surrounding it.
Say
Pure baseball, last night's game
right.
was the best.
So what I was gonna say is, say yesterday's game was Game 7, then sure, it's
Of
got a
course.
shot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, the Cubs won that. Both teams had 80-plus year droughts last year. Like, Cubs won that after 108 years. There was so much on the line
and the
last
Indians
year.
had a
This
much
is how I
online
see
too.
I'm
it.
saying.
This is how I see it. From like a storylines and emotion standpoint, last year's better. From a pure baseball game for game,
this is better.
actually like swing for swing, this series is better than any I can remember.
Better than
Better than 2011.
2011.
Because 2011, again, like it's like you guys. I was emotionally invested in that series. It was still great for a pure baseball standpoint, but also just, it's like in this series, it's punch, counter punch. And like last year, it was just the Indians just clobbered the Cubs for 3 games, and the Cubs came back and clobbered the Indians for 3 games. Like, this is just tit for tat, like back and forth all series long. Like, it's just, it's so amazing. I love it so much.
It is pretty. I mean, you've had your decent pitching. I mean, Clayton Kershaw started the series with an 11 strikeouts, 7-inning win. Then Game 2 was really exciting, similar to Game 5, except obviously a lot less runs. There were 12 less runs in that game, but the back and forth home runs, the extra innings. Games 3 and 4, okay, but Game 5 kind of just sealed the deal. Can Game 6 or if there is a Game 7 top that? Is it
Playoff
possible?
Kershaw made his return yesterday.
He did, but he hadn't been bad all postseason. This was his first real
This is
stinker.
original.
Yeah.
This was
playoff
his first
Kershaw.
real
Only had
clunker.
No.
No, he
that's
was
true,
good
that's
against.
true,
He
that's
was
true.
really
Right,
good against the
right.
Cubs.
Yeah, 2 starts against the Cubs. He pitched
earned runs.
5 innings,
Unfortunately,
4 hits, 2 earned runs, and then 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. And then
He was very good against. He was okay in the division series.
well, he had 1 pitch in the division, 6.1 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs
Yeah.
against Arizona. No, not 4 earned. How could he have 4 earned runs? It was a shutout. I typed that wrong, clearly.
He's been very good this postseason though. That last night was his only really like not great outing, and even then like he just got into some trouble at the end. Like he could have gone 5 or 6 probably, but at that point, why would you? So I mean, he'll be back in Game 7 if there is one.
Yeah, but also this just got me to thinking. I cannot remember a span of like 2 years in my whole life where we've had as many incredible games and sporting events as we've had over the last like 24 months. Even in the last 12 months, we had Game 7 Cubs Indians. We had Super Bowl 51, and we had this game. Cavs came back against the Warriors 2 summers ago, you know. Bunch of other soccer stuff that I know you guys don't really care about as much, but there was some cool
Oh,
soccer.
come on, I'm
I mean,
a soccer guy
Leicester
now.
City. The fact
Yeah.
that Leicester
I
City
knew
won the
Leicester
Premier.
City.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I just can't remember a string of time where we've had as many incredible sporting events as we've had, and this is just adding on to that. Fox, man, what a great weekend for them. They get this game after that OSU Penn State game, man, and God, I wish I was Joe Buck. I'm not a huge fan of his announcing, but
I
he's
love
got
Joe Buck.
he's got
see, I am
he's become
too.
better.
I like Joe Buck too. I never really understood why so many people didn't like. I get that he like points out basic things that you can see from your couch sometimes.
And he sometimes lacks emotion, but he's getting a lot better, I think.
I'm a big Joe Buck guy.
I've never thought that he lacks emotion. I've always when it counts, he's always just like it's genuine from him. I feel like it's not like Matt Vasgersian where he just goes over the top with it every single time,
And no,
which isn't a bad thing.
over the top is
but-
Gus Johnson. He's too over the top. But
Yeah, I love Joe Buck. I
Yeah,
think
I
he's
like him.
great.
I think
He
I've liked
gets a
him
lot of
better.
hate, but I'm a big Joe Buck guy.
Yeah, I'm a Jim Nantz, Al Michaels kind of guy, but I'm starting to like Joe Buck. I thought he called the game really well. He called the home runs really well. But after watching the highlights after the game, that Astros train is still ringing in my ear. The amount of times.
How about
that
Correa
thing-
like literally exploding that ball?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, because the way it looked like it just exploded on his
Literally
back.
exploded.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I loved the Correa like. I tweeted this. I loved the Correa like after he hit the homer, hadn't even rounded first base yet and just stops and
Yeah.
just starts
That was
fist
awesome.
pumping to the crowd like
Straight electricity.
That is pure baseball. Like that's what gets that's what gets kids into the game. Like that's amazing. And these two teams being in the World Series, 2 really young teams, like it's so good for the game. It's pure baseball and I love it. Let's go.
And we're really
Let's go.
We're in a great baseball era because we have a decent amount of teams with a lot of young talent that are going to be really good for a really long time.
I feel like that's all sports right now.
Oh,
I feel
there's
like this
so
is a
much.
peak
Maybe not
good
football
talent.
as much, but
Football has some really
There's some
good young
players, but
players.
I feel like
Juju
baseball,
Smith-Schuster is so
hockey
funny.
is every young player. It seems like the top 5 draft picks every year.
Basketball's
have been
in a
studs.
really good place.
Yeah, basketball.
College football and college basketball are always pretty good. Soccer's in a really good place too. I just think baseball, because when we started growing up, it was all Yankees, all Yankees, all Yankees. They were just winning every single World Series. They had the best team by far. Then you started to get into the early 2000s where there were a couple of teams winning. But to be fair, those teams winning those World Series in the early 2000s weren't amazing. You know, the 04 Red Sox, the 05 White Sox, the 06 Cardinals even. Not incredible teams. The 2010s, post...
The 05 White Sox team was the greatest team of all time.
Ha, good one.
Did you know they only lost 1 game in the playoffs?
I know they did, and they had the longest World Series game ever against Houston.
They were so good.
They were good, but they're not legendary. They're not.
They were so good.
They're not going to be remembered as much as.
No. They won the World Series in 05.
I know.
Tom,
they did.
no, he's not being sincere.
I
dude.
know he's
Ori,
not being
Ori,
sincere.
understand what he's trying to say
I
to you
know.
right now.
I understand what he's
Ori,
saying.
get,
so
Ori,
good.
get there faster.
Okay, who do you hate more, the White Sox or the Cardinals?
The Cardinals. That's not even a question.
See, then why do you? Then
I just
Because
think
it's because
this is
White
funny.
it's because
They're
White
ignorant.
Sox fan truthers like
hate the Cubs.
but they're
Yeah.
just they get so bitter over like every World Series
Yeah.
like they don't get mentioned and all this.
Well,
like,
to be
blah,
fair,
blah,
they
blah.
should be bitter that Sports Center always forgets that the White Sox
That
won
is
the
true.
World
That's
Series.
kind of rude.
Stupid.
But, like,
That's just stupid.
but at the same time, White Sox fans do think that was the greatest team of all time.
But
like,
hey, in the 2010s
Joe
though,
Creedy, not the best third baseman of all time. Are you kidding me?
hey, Jermaine Dye,
Paul
greatest right
Konerko,
fielder.
so good.
Paul
Scott
Konerko's
Pacific.
He was sick. I love Paul
Paul
Konerko.
Konerko and Mark Burley are probably going to be the only 2 players remembered, like, what, 10 years from now?
You're
15 years from now?
Bay and Jermaine Dye were pretty
You're gonna
cool,
forget about
too.
Bobby
Bobby
Jenks.
Jenks.
Yeah.
I was
Jay
about to say
Brzezinski.
that.
AJ, but
Burley.
like, I'm talking about like
Danks.
I said Burley.
What
There were
about
a lot
Danks,
of
though?
characters on that team.
Yeah, those
There were
actually
characters, but I'm
low-key
talking about like
kinda fun
straight up
team, but-
ballers, like
Yeah, there were.
players.
Yeah,
Bobby Jenks was like the OG fireballer.
true.
That's true.
You look at the 2010s.
When he dyed his little goatee, like,
Oh, he's gross.
You look
he
at
was
the
so gross.
Yeah. You look at the teams, though, that have won the World Series in the 2010s, and I think they're really, I mean, the 2016 Cubs is going to be remembered forever. Whoever wins this
Oh,
World
yeah.
Series is going to be remembered forever. The 2011 Cardinals are going to be remembered forever. The Giants dynasty, even the 2015 Kansas City Royals are going to be remembered forever. Yeah,
No, they
Why?
will be.
they will be.
The
'Cause
Mets
they-
lost that
Be-
series.
They did.
The
they
Royals
did,
didn't
but
win.
then the Royals then lost everyone from that team 2 years later.
Yeah.
So I mean, because the Royals probably aren't going to have a core like that for
I
another
guess
10
the Royals
years.
fans will always remember them.
I
I feel like I personally can't name anybody besides like Zobrist.
I mean,
and,
that
like,
World
their
Series
bullpen.
was
But
very
the thing is
forgettable.
because anytime anyone talks about the 2014 Giants, which will be a lot because they'll be in the dynasty talk, that's an easy segue into the Royals, how they came back and had that core and then they lost them. It's going to be a tragedy story, but like it'll still be a story.
Yeah, but we've gotten some great World Series on the 2010s, and I think the 2020s. I mean, we could have,
Baseball's so bad.
we should have some really
Baseball's
big
all the way
flops.
back.
It's like Astros Dodgers. You get a Yankees Dodgers. You get an Indians Cubs again. You get a Cubs Yankees World Series. We're just
I
going to
think
be
this is the most
flopping
competitive baseball's been
for a while.
for a very like you said, the 2000s it was all Yankees and Red Sox and the big players.
And Cardinals.
And now it's like Houston and LA. Like 5 years ago, you wouldn't have thought these teams would have been in the World
Houston
Series.
was terrible.
Houston was awful.
What'd they win,
The
50 games?
The Dodgers even weren't really that good then
No.
either. And I
The
mean,
Indians sucked. The Cubs sucked 5 years ago.
like the landscape in the MLB has changed immensely over the last 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom teams, and I mean, Detroit were perennial team.
Detroit
in the
used to be
2000s.
sick.
Amazing. They had, Justin Verlander and
Joel Zumaya.
Pudge Rodriguez.
I mean, the Giants won the World Series 3 years ago, and now they were the worst team in baseball.
yeah.
They're trash.
This year,
Horrible.
Like they're gonna have the second pick in the draft.
I mean, how many
Should've been the
MLB
first.
teams?
Should have been the first.
How
and
many
probably
MLB
second.
teams next year are going to be World Series contenders? I think we're looking at between 12 and 15. Well,
I think that's
not
too
high.
many.
that's
Between 10 and 11. How about 10 or 11?
Boston, New York, Cleveland, Houston,
Washington.
the Cubs,
Yeah.
the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies.
Okay. So,
And depending on free agency, maybe the Cardinals if they get Stanton.
so that's like 10.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, that's like 10 teams. That's compared to the NBA, which is like 3. And compared to the NFL, which is like 0. I mean, the leader of the NFL.
It's just the Patriots. It's
It's
the
just
Patriots
the
league.
Patriots.
The Patriots haven't even been that dominant this year.
It
but
was
it's
the
still
Chiefs for a little bit, but then the Chiefs
But
just
no
kinda lost
single
it.
team is like, oh, they're winning the Super Bowl. Even the Eagles, who are 7-1, everyone's like, they're not going to win the
It's
Super Bowl.
still
That's just, that's because it's the Eagles.
Yeah, and then
It's still the Patriots.
And then the NBA's on
Till Tom's
drugs right
gone, it's
now
the
because
Patriots.
the Clippers are 4-1 and the Pistons are first in the East. Like, I don't know what is happening in the NBA. The NHL seems like
What happened to the Raiders? Why are they just like?
I don't
bad?
know. The Raiders are terrible
I don't
this year.
understand.
We all thought they were going to be so good.
It's because Marshawn's fighting people.
Is it gonna be? It's gonna be a Minnesota Philadelphia Super Bowl.
It can't be a
Is that-
Minnesota
It's
Philadelphia
impossible.
Super Bowl.
They're both in
Oh,
the
nope,
NFC.
you're right.
It's impossible.
right.
It's going to be like a Minnesota.
It's gonna be the Patriots.
Patriots.
You're wrong if you think it's not.
If
the
it's
Patriots.
New England, Philly.
The AFC's
Just
so
being
bad.
indigenous.
AFC is terrible. The
AFC 's
Steelers
really
are
bad.
first in the AFC, and they're 6-2. And then you got Philly, who's the best record. Minnesota.
rude.
Minnesota has a bye right now in the NFC. That's just showing you. I mean, the NFC North is really close. The AFC West is really close.
The Saints are probably going to make the
The
playoffs.
Saints are going to make the playoffs.
Oh
Shout
my
out Justin
God!
They're
Hardy.
winning
Wait.
the South. Atlanta's in third. Yeah.
What?
Look at the teams winning the divisions.
Tampa
Tennessee.
Bay. I'm so
Tampa Bay's
disappointed.
terrible.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's been
I'm
so disappointing.
disappointed in them.
Also, the AFC East is too close. The Bills
What about
are
the
5
Rams?
and 2. The Rams are good.
Rams are legit. Rams look good.
Here's
Rams look good.
Jared Goff is the real deal.
can it be fair to say that the Niners might be worse than the Browns?
No,
No. No.
maybe. But
Come on,
maybe,
the
but, like,
49ers
for the-
It's
for
a little
suck.
sad how bad
just
he
like-
wanted you to like
it's
agree
like
with
the
him.
name recognition for the 49ers.
For the
Like,
sake of
they're
this-
still probably
for the-
okay, right? Like,
For the sake of
0-8.
for the sake of this
Patrick
argument,
Willis still
no.
there?
Objectively,
Patrick Willis
maybe.
still there?
They
Like, I don't
don't.
know.
Oh, who's better, Deshaun Kaiser or C.J. Beathard?
Oh, I'm gonna say Deshaun.
There you go.
Probably not.
Oh God.
The way it's looking, I mean,
Which
doesn't
team
look
get-
doesn't look great.
Which team
He's
gets
at
a
tough
win
time.
first? How about that?
Ooh,
Don't say San Francisco.
Wait. All right, we got to dive into the schedule.
This will be the
We're gonna go
last
into this.
thing we talk about. and then
If we're
gotta
gonna look
go.
at this, we gotta look at the schedules.
Why is it that we end up talking about the Browns every?
Yeah, what is this with the?
Because
I
I-
don't like this. You're right, Will.
We talk about your teams all the time because it's local.
Because they're relevant and good,
The
sort
Browns
of,
are
at least
relevant
average.
because of how bad they are.
What do we got?
And our
Okay,
listeners
so
actually kind of care about like
They're
our
not going to
favorite
beat
teams.
Detroit. They're not going to beat Jacksonville. They're not going to beat Cincy. They're not going to. They might beat the Chargers. So that's week 13 is probably the earliest win for the Browns.
third.
Niners are playing the Cardinals, then the Giants. Oh, they might beat the Giants.
They're gonna beat the Giants.
Then they play Seattle, and then they're at Chicago. Bears might lose that game.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
The Bears should
The
be
Bears
like.
the Bears should have won that game if the
Browns-
stupid catch rule was not. If
No.
Zach-
Rules trash.
that rule is so trash.
Fine.
It's. I don't even think it's the rule. I feel like they just were like.
I feel like it's just. I feel like it's just open like whatever
Not a
ref.
touchdown.
I
If
don't
the
know
ref
what they
thinks
did.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I
It would
wasn't
be-
feeling that one.
I would.
Yeah, really.
My
Yeah,
NFL
I
season.
don't care about his leg.
Zach Miller sacrificed his career for that catch. And
He
now-
might. He
sacrificed
probably will never play
his
football.
leg.
I don't think he will.
No, I mean
don't
they
think he
thought they
should.
thought about they had to save his leg. Like
Yeah, they
literally.
almost had to amputate his leg.
Yeah, but
Come on now.
dream NFL season. If the Browns and the 49ers finish 1-15 and both got their wins
Do
against
they
the
play
Bears.
each other?
The Browns play the Bears on Christmas Eve.
No, they
And the 49ers play
Niners
the
and
Bears.
Browns don't play each other.
That's who I wanted.
Yeah, the Niners don't play the Browns. this
I
year.
hope the Browns beat the Bears because I want a draft pick at this point.
But the thing is, the Bears can't even get a great draft pick now because
No,
they're
3
going to hover
wins.
If they
around
lose out,
500.
if they lose out,
They're going to hover around 500.
Yeah, right
They have
now
what, 3 wins.
3 wins, 3 and 5.
wins.
They
So
go
I-
3-13. They'll get a top 5 pick.
Oh,
just don't-
I don't know.
the thing is,
Indianapolis, Tampa Bay, the Giants, Browns.
We're only 1 game ahead of Tampa Bay.
I just feel like
The Giants, I feel like will fall into a couple wins.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just feel
man.
like what the Bears are going to do is like they're going to go on like a little 3-game streak at the end of the season and just
Like, oh, we're almost there.
Yeah,
We
they're-
almost got the
they're-
playoffs.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
exactly. They're going
Right
to do
there.
they're going to do what the Bulls do. Oh my God, we're falling down a rabbit hole now.
pretty much.
Throw up.
So I think that's gonna.
I think I'm gonna throw.
I think that's gonna do it for us here. For Tommy, for Jake, for Will, I'm Ori Benatar. Thanks for tuning in for Illini Drive again. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for another edition at 6 p.m. right here on WPGU 107.1.